What's the difference between you and me? Welcome back to my microblading studio. This is a channel for PMU artists who are ready to grow their business, to make more money, to improve their skills, and just to take their business to the next level. I'm Alex, your host, a microblading artist, business owner, product creator, and online educator who wants to help you do the same thing, make a successful business for yourself. So today we're going to be talking about the difference between blades, curved blade and a U microblade. Not so much the difference in the anatomy. I made an entire video of microblading anatomy. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch that now. But today we want to talk about the difference on how to use each one of these blades when making your strokes. I'd like to start out by saying one of these is not better than the other, and one of these is not an advanced blade or a beginner blade. I switch between these two types of blades based on my feeling of the day. A lot of times I'll get on a kick and use a U blade for months and then just be like, oh, today I feel like a curved blade, and then I'll switch to that, be on that for a couple months and switch back. Or it will be based on what my clients are looking for or what I just think is going to be best for them. That comes with experience, but it's not to say that you can't just stick to one type of blade or the other type of blade, a U blade or a curved blade. It is just nice to know how to use both of them if you do decide you want to switch. So the other point I said is that one is not an advanced blade and one is not a beginner blade. It's kind of a myth. I feel like it's not as common as it is these days as it was when I first started, but U blades were kind of explained as more of a advanced blade. And to be honest, I'm not really sure why, because if you know how to use it, it's not any harder than using a curved blade. I think maybe because curved blades were the original type of microblades, and then U blades came along after. They were like, oh, these are more an advanced version, but they're not. You can use either one as a beginner. You can use either one really on any client. It's just based on what feels good to you, but also maybe what is good for what your client is looking for, and we're gonna get into that right now. Making strokes with a curved blade. So curved blade versus your U blade, right? Doesn't matter which ones you're using, it's going to be the same for all of them. So let's start with a curved blade first. So with a curved blade, the key is to have all pins touching at once. All pins touching at once throughout the entire stroke. So at our correct angle, 90 degrees, every pin is touching from the first pin to the last pin, from the longest to the shortest, and then we keep it that way through our stroke. Even speed, even pace. 1, 2, 3, all pins touching at once, no matter what. Now, the difference with a curved blade is we're not using all the pins. We're actually using half of the pins and maybe not even all of half. So maybe less than half, if we want to say that correctly. So we're using less than half because where we're starting is the longest pin. That center pin is our starting point, instead of with, well, same thing with our curved blade. The longest pin is our starting point, but it is the first blade. Our longest pin here, still our starting point, but it's the center. We're going to start with the center. So we're holding this blade super upright at our 90-degree angle. And then we're using, and this is a judgment call, an 18 pin. So if half of 18 is 9, we're maybe using 7 pins. Okay. So you're going to start at your longest pin, and then you're pulling them through. Now, if I'm looking at it really closely, I can probably see that I'm using 8 of the pins. The little baby short one at the end doesn't look like it's actually touching the skin. If you were using a 16 pin, you're probably going to get all 7 of those on there. So it just depends what you're using. But you're only using half, and you're just dragging them through just like the curved blade, not worrying about those top pins that you're not touching. You are just remembering your 3 keys. You're remembering your angle, you're remembering your speed, you're remembering your depth, and you're just dragging those half of those pins or less than half of those pins through the skin. So the difference between using a U blade and a curved blade is really what feels good in your hand. You may like one better than the other and always use one. You may swap through them like I do. There is not one that's better than the other, not one that's more advanced. They are both going to give you beautiful strokes in the skin. I like to use curved blades. Well, they are my favorite, so I use them the most, but I like to use them when creating fluffy strokes. I feel like they're just so easy to make with a curved blade. But also when I'm trying to correct a 90s brow, right where the base of their brow underneath the arch, the lower part, needs more structure, I feel like that's so much easier to create using a curved blade. Whereas I tend to want to grab a U blade when I want to create a thinner brow. So a lot of times for my older clients who want a thinner brow, because I'm able to curve the strokes a little bit more, or if I'm just feeling like I really want to curve the tops of strokes, I find it's much, much easier to do with a U blade as opposed to a curved blade. But once again, you can do both with both blades, what feels good to you. That's it, the ins and outs of how to make strokes using the two different main blades, so microblading, U blades, and curved blades. Like we said at the beginning, not one is better than the other. You just choose what you like best or what is best for your client, but it's great to know how to use both, how to make strokes with both. So if you like today's video, hit like and subscribe. I put out new videos every week. I'll see you then.